Eyewitness News continues tracking Earl tonight. We're going to take a look here. This is a look at waves crashing into the rocks along Watch Hill and Westerly. And tonight we have some weather experts with us, our chief meteorologist, Tony Petrarca, and also the director of the National Hurricane Center, Bill Reed. So, Tony, I'm going to turn it over to you and over to Mr. Reed.
All right, thanks, Karen. I know we're trying to set up communications with Mr. Reed. Bill, can you hear me?
I can barely hear you. I think you're trying to ask me a question, but I can't make out what you're saying.
Okay, one more time, Bill. Can you hear us?
We have a lot of static on this line.
All right, tell you what, Bill, just hold 1 second. We'll get back to you. We'll set up this audio in just a second, but I do want to show you the satellite and the radar from, well, Hurricane Earl. First, the satellite photo, and this is a question that I will be asking Bill Reed. I've noticed on the picture here, it appears as though the size of the storm has grown. In other words, it's covering more area, even though the wind speeds have been coming down. And really no surprise here that there is a definite circulation that is occurring just south of New England right now, even though the storm has weakened. It certainly doesn't shut off like a light switch. And you can see that the center of the storm is a couple of hundred miles just south of Block Island. It's been racing off to the north and east at about 19 miles per hour. Barely hurricane strength. At last check, from the National Hurricane Center, it had winds of 80 miles per hour. In fact, let me show you the latest from the Hurricane Center. There you go. There the coordinates: 38.2 north, 72 west, moving northwest, actually northeast. I definitely don't want it moving northwest. Northeast at 19. Winds of 81 miles per hour. Now, these circles represent the envelope of wind and wind speed. In other words, this orange area right in here, that's tropical storm force winds of 40 miles per hour or greater. And notice that just lies offshore. I was talking to Pete Mangione. Block Island, the wind is gusting up to about 25 miles per hour. And while that's nothing significant, it is a sign that the wind speeds will be increasing along the south shore very shortly, and especially later on in the evening and during the overnight. The hurricane force winds are reserved for the darker area in the middle of the storm, and that is more or less going to stay offshore and probably pass south and east of Nantucket. So the good news there. And of course, Bill Reed with the National Hurricane Center. Bill, I think we have the communication right now, and we are good to go.
Perfect.
Dr. Reed, I was looking at the satellite photo, just mentioning this to our viewers, and I've noticed that the size of the cloud structure appears to be expanding, even though the wind speeds have been coming down. What can you tell us about as far as the overall wind field that's approaching our area right now?
You're observing is correct. This is fairly common as a tropical cyclone comes up into the westerlies and interacts with a frontal system like the one coming out of the Midwest, that you expand the cloud shield and the rain pattern northward out ahead of what is the tropical storm. So it's probably got another 24 hours or less of being a pure tropical cyclone and becoming more of a frontal-like system. So you'll have a broad area more of rain, maybe along the coast, a little broader area of tropical storm force winds, but no more further strengthening. In fact, it should continue weakening.
Based on the latest observations, what can you tell us about the kind of weather they would see, say, on the outer Cape compared to the Rhode Island shoreline and further west?
Rhode Island shoreline further west is maybe gust tropical storm force, some pounding surf, the big waves coming in there, and occasional good strong rain. When you get out of Nantucket and the eastern part of the Cape, that's where the more sustained tropical storm force, maybe up to 50 or 60 miles an hour, and gust to hurricane force, certainly on Nantucket, can't be ruled out. And of course, there'll be even stronger beach erosion and waves with their exposure to the open sea.
And Bill, obviously hurricane forecasting is not easy, but you must be pretty impressed with how well the computer models that both you and I used did on this storm as far as the track so well in advance.
Yeah, in a perverse way, it's almost too good. People are going to expect us to be right down the line on these 2 or 3 days in advance, and that's not the norm, as you well know, which is why we have to have watches and warnings out for an area larger than will actually be impacted, because to cover that uncertainty.
Dr. Reed, National Hurricane Center, thank you very much and terrific job. We're going to go back and take a look at conditions around southern New England as Earl continues to track off to the north and east. Doppler radar showing a lot of heavy rain just offshore. Now, as the storm tracks offshore, this area right in here may clip southeastern Mass, and why I think we may pick up 3 to 5 inches in southeastern Mass, and why there is a flash flood watch for later tonight because of rain. Take a look at Narragansett Town Beach, looking over from the Coast Guard House with large waves. Speaking of large waves, I think we have some video from Point Judith sent in from Patrick. He was taking pictures. I'll step out of the way while he was on the rocks. Here comes a large wave, and all right, Patrick, I'm going to scold you on the air. Don't do that ever again. But you get an idea of just how powerful these waves can be as they approach, and these waves will only get larger as the storm tracks north and east south of Nantucket. We'll go back to the other computer source now and take a look at what we're expecting. Closest approach to Nantucket later tonight. Heavy surf will continue through Saturday. The highest risk for damaging wind is really confined to Cape Cod and the islands only. The bulk of the rain and wind will be tonight. Now, the further north you go, the wind is not as strong. The further south you go, near the coastline, the wind is a little stronger. I'm thinking 1 to 3 inches of rain, Rhode Island, 3 to 5 inches in southeastern Mass, so that's why the flash flood watch has been issued. With the heaviest of the rain and wind from about 8 o'clock this evening till 3 o'clock in the morning. The waves will not diminish until Sunday, so even though the sun will come out at the beaches, the surf will be rough. Tropical storm warning remains in effect for the areas in yellow, most of our area. Hurricane warning confined to the outer Cape and islands only, and a flash flood watch overnight in anticipation of some of that heavier rain. There's not much rain in Providence right now. That will change later on this evening. Very humid and rather warm. The wind gusts have not been that impressive yet along the south shore, but they will ramp up later tonight. So periods of rain will continue this evening. The wind picking up. The heaviest rain and the gustier wind reserved for later tonight during the overnight. Goodbye, Earl, on Saturday. Looking at some sunshine in the morning, and we've got the sun in the afternoon. A breezy and dry day with temperatures topping out in the lower 80s. All right, 7-day futurecast, holiday weekend. We're back on track. Looks good for Sunday, 77, and the holiday Monday, sunny skies and a high temperature near 80. Want to stress, hurricane force winds are not likely across most areas, reserved for the outer Cape and Nantucket only. But along the south shore, there will be some gusty wind later on this evening and during the overnight. Pinpoint weather station on Cox Digital Channel 125 for additional information, and you can certainly go to our website at WPRI.com. So kind of a rough night as far as rain and wind, especially south shore, but better days ahead starting tomorrow.
All right. Thank you, Tony. More